It is interesting. I think I've gone from I feel like Jim Schwartz is a failsafe to I don't think Jim Schwartz should factor in on this, other than whoever's your head coach better damn well keep Jim Schwartz as your DC.
I mean, it just seems obvious if you're, I don't know, 90% of the people we're talking about that you want Jim Schwartz on your staff in some capacity.
Yeah, but like,
why would you make that change?
But as a head coach, like I don't know, like has Jim earned another head coaching job? Well, he's been an elite level defensive coordinator, right?
Obviously, I don't think they can be in a spot where maybe Tennessee is or the Giants are with Jackson Dart and Cam Ward respectively. They say, hey, this is our young kid. We're going with him. We're going to build around him. But where do you think the Shadur Sanders, and to be fair, let's throw Dylan Gabriel in there because he did start this season as well. So these two young rookies, how do you think they factor in to this coaching search as far as their importance?
Jeffrey Lurie thought it was a done deal. With Nick Sirianni out, the plan was to bring back the architect of the Super Bowl defense. Jim Schwartz was supposed to be the next head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. But this morning, the phone rang and the deal died. Schwartz didn't take another head coaching job. He didn't retire. He took a check from Shadur Sanders. Insiders say Lurie absolutely exploded when he found out. He wasn't beaten by the Cowboys or the Giants. He was beaten by a private consulting offer funded by Shedur's sponsors. Lurie is reportedly on the phone with the commissioner right now, claiming this is illegal. I have the details on why Jim Schwartz prefers this shadow role over running an entire team, and why the Eagles are now in full-blown panic mode. Subscribe and hit the bell right now if you want to see how Shadur just ruined the Eagles' off-season. Here is how a rookie quarterback outbid an NFL franchise. The NFL is currently witnessing a power struggle so bizarre and so calculated that it has left veteran executives in absolute disbelief. While most teams are out searching for the next young coaching prodigy, the Cleveland Browns have entered a twilight zone of management. They aren't just looking for a head coach, they're looking for a puppet. Rumors are swirling that the Browns are walking into interview rooms and handing candidates a massive restriction before they even sit down. They are being told that if they want the job, they have to keep the current defensive coordinator, Jim Schwartz. This isn't just a suggestion, it's an ultimatum. It's the kind of move that makes you wonder who is actually running the team, and more importantly, what this means for the most talked about young quarterback in the league, Shadur Sanders. To understand why this is happening, you have to look at the sheer chaos currently engulfing the AFC North. In a division that was once the gold standard for coaching stability, the floor has completely fallen out. Mike Tomlin has walked away from the Steelers. John Harbaugh was sent packing by the Ravens. And Kevin Stefanski is officially a memory in Cleveland. Only Zach Taylor is left standing. In this vacuum of power, Jim Schwartz has emerged not just as a coach, but as a kingmaker. He's sitting on the fourth-ranked defense in the league, a unit that single-handedly kept the Browns from falling into total irrelevance last season. The organization is so terrified of losing that defensive identity that they are willing to compromise the entire coaching search just to keep him. But the mystery goes much deeper than just defensive rankings. The real story, the one the Browns are trying to keep behind closed doors, is about the future of the quarterback position. The Deshaun Watson era has been a catastrophic failure of historic proportions. The money is gone, the talent is fading, and the fan base is exhausted. Enter Shedeur Sanders. On paper, he was a fifth-round flyer, a gamble that many experts thought was more about name recognition than NFL potential. But inside the Browns facility, the narrative is completely different. Sources are indicating that the front office believes they found a first-round talent at a fraction of the cost. They are obsessed with his processing speed and his arm talent. But there's a catch. They know that if they bring in the wrong head coach, someone who wants to scrap the system, or bring in their guy, they could ruin Shedeur before he even gets a fair start. This is where the clunky nature of the situation becomes a full-blown crisis. When the Browns interview guys like Jesse Minter or Nate Scheelhaas, they aren't just asking about X's and O's. They are asking a very specific, very loaded question. What do you think of Shedeur Sanders? They are looking for a coach to validate their secret belief that Shedeur is the future. If a candidate walks in and says they want to draft a new quarterback or stick with a veteran, they are likely crossed off the list immediately. The Browns are desperate for someone to look at the tape and say, I can build a championship around this kid. But they need that person to say it while also agreeing to work under the shadow of Jim Schwartz. It's an almost impossible needle to thread, and it's putting Shedeur's entire NFL destiny in the hands of a defensive coordinator. And if you think Schwartz is just a bystander in this, you haven't been paying attention to the moves he's making in the shadows. Schwartz is currently running a masterclass in leverage. While the Browns are trying to protect him, he's out there interviewing with their most hated rival, the Baltimore Ravens. Imagine the nightmare scenario for Cleveland. They alienate every top head coaching candidate by forcing Schwartz on them, only for Schwartz to turn around and sign a deal with Baltimore. He's a Baltimore native, he's coached there before, and he knows that the Ravens are a plug-and-play contender. By taking that interview, Schwartz has essentially put a gun to the head of the Browns front office. He is telling them, make me the most powerful man in this building, or I'll go across the division and haunt you twice a year. The irony of this situation isn't lost on the Philadelphia Eagles. They are watching this drama unfold with a mix of regret and validation. When Schwartz led the Eagles' defense to a Super Bowl in 2018, he was the heartbeat of that team. But after he left, the Eagles' defense slowly lost its teeth. They became softer, less predictable, and eventually they lost that championship edge. The Browns saw what happened in Philly, and they are determined not to let history repeat itself. They view Schwartz as the only thing standing between them and a total organizational collapse. They believe that as long as Schwartz is running the defense, they can afford to take a big swing on a young, offensive-minded coach to develop Shedeur. But that logic is flawed because it ignores the most basic rule of leadership. A house divided against itself cannot stand. Think about the tension that will exist on day one. You have a young head coach who knows he only got the job because he agreed to keep a subordinate he didn't hire. You have a defensive coordinator who knows he has more juice with the owner than his own boss does. And in the middle of it all, you have Shedeur Sanders, a young quarterback who needs stability more than anything else. If the defense plays well and the offense struggles, the media will start calling for Schwartz to take the head coaching job. If the offense plays well, but the defense slips, the head coach will be blamed for not having control over his staff. It is a recipe for a toxic environment. Yet the Browns are charging forward like it's the only option they have. What's truly wild is that the Browns organization is actually leaking this information through the media. When reporters like Mary Kay Cabot start mentioning Shedeur Sanders' name before Deshaun Watson, or even the number 6 overall pick, it's not an accident. It's a calculated move to signal to the league and to Shedeur that he is the priority. They want the world to know that they are building a super team environment for him, an elite Schwartz-led defense on one side, and a hand-picked offensive guru on the other. It sounds perfect on a whiteboard, but the NFL isn't played on whiteboards. It's played in locker rooms, where egos and power struggles can destroy a season before it even begins. So, where does this leave Shedeur? His future is now tied to a game of high-stakes poker. If Schwartz stays and the Browns find their unicorn coach, someone who is brilliant with quarterbacks but humble enough to let Schwartz run the show, then Shedeur could be walking into the best situation for a rookie in years. He wouldn't have to score 30 points a game to win. He would have the luxury of learning the pro game while a dominant defense keeps the team in every contest. That is the dynasty scenario. But if this power play fails, if Schwartz leaves for Baltimore, or the new head coach bristles under the restrictions, the whole thing will crumble. Shedeur will be left in the ruins of another failed Cleveland rebuild, labeled a bust, before he ever had a chance to succeed. Jim Schwartz is no longer just a defensive coordinator. He is the pivot point for the entire AFC North. His decision will trigger a domino effect that impacts everyone from John Harbaugh to Shedeur Sanders. He holds the cards. He knows the value of his hand, and he isn't afraid to push all his chips into the middle of the table. The Eagles learned the hard way what happens when you let a man like that walk out the door. The Browns are trying to avoid that mistake, but in doing so, they might be creating an even bigger one. They are betting everything on a clunky arrangement that defies NFL logic. As the coaching carousel spins faster, the question remains, is Jim Schwartz saving the Cleveland Browns, or is he just ensuring that he's the last man standing when it all goes wrong? And for Shadur Sanders, is Cleveland a dream destination or a career trap? The next few weeks will decide the fate of the franchise for the next decade. If you were in Shedur's shoes, would you be praying for Schwartz to stay, or would you want a clean slate with a coach who actually has the power to call the shots? This is the most dangerous game in football, and the stakes have never been higher. What do you think? Is Jim Schwartz's power move the smartest thing we've seen in years, or is this the beginning of a massive disaster in Cleveland? Should the Browns just hire Schwartz as the head coach and end the drama? Or is the Shedeur experiment worth all this chaos? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this story is evolving every single hour. If you want to stay ahead of the next big move in the NFL coaching search, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss the moment the first domino finally falls.